Hey guys, this is Matt, and I just got the carburetor rebuilt. I actually used a different guy's called Guaranteed Carburetor. Here's the code to get their link, and then the cost at this time is $239.49, and this is what I got. I added the extra $10 to get a gasket kit. But check it out. Looks super clean. All new gaskets. They did. So the California one is not adjustable. So they made this one adjustable, which is a positive. And then they got rid of some of the stuff, fixed a few things. Let me get this gasket out of the way. A new electric choke. It looks brand new. Can't wait to install it. Yep. Alright. Next video is going to be it running. Alright, just got it started. No hesitation. Let's see. Steady vacuum. Let's give it some throttle. Oh yeah. Let's turn it off and turn it back on. Try it again. Oh yeah. She runs. So why replace the carburetor? Why do all this work? Why upgrade the intake manifold? Why do spark plugs, wires, the ignition coil, do all the filters, you know, change the transmission fluid, the differential fluid, you know, put the transmission cooler on, a big cooler to keep the temperature not from going hot with all this shit loaded up in my RV. You know, why do all this work? And for this old 1988 motorhome, right? You're like, this guy's putting a lot of work into this thing. What's the point? And the point I would like to say is that it's about efficiency, right? So if the motorhome gets, let's say it gets 7 miles to the gallon, and now it gets 8. Well, that's not a big, 1 mile per gallon is not much of an improvement. But when these things are built to be driven, not to be just sitting, so my goal is to drive this thing, and I don't have a payment, you know. all my toys, my cars are all paid with cash. You know, my wife's car we financed, and then our next car will be a Tesla, probably a Model 3, and then we'll probably finance that. But all the cars I've ever owned, I've just paid with cash. You know, no credit check, no repo man coming. So I don't have interest rates. You know, I don't even know if we put full coverage on this motorhome. Probably not, because they would just pay us out $3,000. You know, it's not worth anything. But yeah, you know, like this carburetor, one of the reasons why it was faulty is the enrichment circuit didn't work. So when you gave it gas, only one side would spray that fuel, so it would hesitate a little bit. Now I could have rebuilt that. Some of the gaskets on the bottom were leaking fuel. I tightened them, fixed that. But still, you know, 40-year-old carburetor with 30,000 miles on it, you might think, well, you know, like, it's still good. It's only got 30,000 miles. It's just, it needed to be looked at. It needed to be rebuilt. And I found guaranteed carburetors to fix it, you know. And yeah, I could have bought the kit for like $50 or $75. Let's say under $100, and rebuilt it myself, and saved, I don't know, 150, 200. Let's say I saved $300. But I also would have had to learn how to rebuild it, and I'd have to understand and what needs to be looked at and all that stuff. And these guys have been rebuilding carburetors for years. They have experience that I could probably never obtain in the rebuilding 5 or 6 carburetors, or all the YouTube videos to watch. So in my mind, it was just easier to let a professional rebuild the Rochester carburetor, the 4-barrel for the motorhome. And because I live in California, I have to stick with emission standards. And even though I have the open air pod and all that stuff, and the EGR is still not hooked up, at some point, if I wanted to sell this, it would have to pass emissions. So I would have to put it all back, and with the Edelbrock carburetor, I would have to put the old one back on. And the old one had issues, you know. So, you know, like, I had to rebuild the old one at any point. So I just decided to get it professionally rebuilt. And I'm happy with it, you know. And it's the original one that came with the truck. So it's not some aftermarket one that you could buy from China, you know, on Amazon for $150. It's the actual one that came on the truck, the factory one. I didn't get a core exchange. They rebuilt my carburetor. It took about a month. So I was out without a month, and then I had to pay shipping to ship. I think it was $50, and then provide the box and the bubble wrap and all that stuff. So it was about let's say $400, everything said and done, you know. And then if I would have rebuilt it myself, it would have been $100. So I paid $300 to have it professionally rebuilt, and it's got a warranty, you know, and it runs. And as you could hear, that, like, it started right up. I had to adjust the idle, you know, get the idle going, and I don't have to mess with it, you know. And then let me show you box, because the intake sits higher. The actual Rochester carburetor sits higher. I have to extend this box up, so that's why I went with an aftermarket filter until I fix this box. And then I'm going to put the factory filter back on. I'm going to put the factory TAC, the cold start emission hose back on. Here, let me open it. Coco's in the way. Watch out, Coco. So yeah, we can take a look at it. So yeah, so the TAC will be put back on. The PCV hose should have been routed to the air filter, but because there's no air filter, I guess I could build a hole under like make a custom hole and plug that into it. But right now I just have it casting out to the side in the wheel well, you know. And this thing's ready to go for the next 40 years, you know. I won't have to do anything to it at all. Just keep fresh gas in it and change the oil. I've done everything, you know. There's Bobby. Hey, Bobby. Waking up from your nap? Hey, Bobby. You know, upgraded the fuel relay from the factory. My next goal, and this is when me and the wife buy land or property, I'm going to put a bigger radiator and then go with an electric fan instead of this fan clutch. And there's nothing wrong with this fan clutch. It's great. It keeps the coach cool on the road. The radiator's leaking a little bit. It's just sweating, but I want to get it done when I can do it. I might even get it rebuilt, but I'm going to see if I can get an upgraded like 3 or 4 core radiator and then put an electric fan on it. And yeah, and like you can barely tell that there's an intake manifold on this, you know. Like it's gonna have no problem passing emissions once I put all the stuff back on it, you know. The EGR is gonna hang out right here. There's the plate, so it comes outside, and then put the factory airbox on it, and it's gonna be good to go, you know. I gave this thing a second life, you know, and now I feel confident taking it on the road and just having a good time with the family, you know. It's going to be an amazing motorhome. All right, well, I'm glad you guys sat there and listened to me ramble. And remember, God bless, and Jesus loves you. And I'm going to be making some more videos of this old RV and try to keep this thing going for another 40 years, at least 20 years. I'm 42 now, so 62. So yeah, I got some suspension upgrades to do. It's going to be fun. Keep along. All right, like and subscribe. See ya. Peace.